What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules?
Today with Claire, we're gonna talk about all this stuff about agents, agentic AI, but to serve one use case, which is the use case of a data team. So for data professional and people that works in data team. So data analyst, analytics engineer, data engineers, and maybe data scientists, but that's not the first use case we're gonna talk about because this is not what we try to cover at the moment. Before I start the presentation, who's working in a data team context? Okay, cool, everyone. Almost everyone. Agents at the moment are showing up everywhere, and this is like a massive trend, hype, and so on. So everyone is talking about this. And when we look at it, most of the time it's either like for business team, like the marketing team, the ops team, people that are like massively using ChatGPT to browse the company knowledge or stuff like this. But this is not for the data team. Or for the tech teams, for instance, when we look at it, like GitHub Copilot, Cursor are tools that are like massively helping the tech team to build like better front-end apps, back-end apps, whatever. But in the end, data teams are still looking for something. And from the interviews and the people we talked about, we've seen that people are still looking for something. We ask ourselves, how can data team start building agents or using agents to improve their own efficiency, how they can build like better code faster without breaking anything. So before I jump in the presentation, I'm Christophe. I've been working in data engineering for 10 years.
And I'm Claire, and I've been working in data analytics and data science for 7 years.
And we co-founded now more than 6 months ago, and we are building AI code editor made for data teams. Our goal is to build a code editor where data teams can do stuff helped by AI and everything contextualized for their work. We interviewed a lot of data teams last year, at the end of last year, to understand their use of AI in the context of their data work. And we've seen that there was one first major use case that they had in mind, which was this one. Everyone has like a different definition for it, but it's like chat with data, conversational analytics, text to SQL, and this is still something that hasn't found yet an answer. And just spoiler, this is not what we are doing. But still, this is something that most of the data team are trying to find an answer to provide something for their users. When we look at the market at the moment, it seems that there are a lot of tools that can handle this chat with data use case. So on the left, we have the foundational models and the tools that are on top of this. So, for instance, you can use Gemini, you can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT to do chat with your data. If you add some kind of integration, some MCP, a lot of stuff are like coming out of the market to do this. Or if you copy-paste the schema of your data, you can also ask Claude or ChatGPT to generate a SQL query for you, and then you copy it back in your UI. There are, for instance, data catalogs. For instance, Castor has a feature where you can ask questions, and it will generate the query for you, and then you copy it back in your warehouse. Then in the warehouse as well, for instance, in Snowflake, you have Cortex. In Databricks, you have Genie. So they also generate SQL for you. In the BI tools, for instance, in Looker, there is, to be honest, Looker and Omni have the ones that are like the best use and where we got the best feedbacks about. And there are like all the chat tools and all the startups that develop stuff around generating analytics through chat UI. And then actually in reality, what we've seen is that the most used one are the one in Looker, because the BI tool is the best place for your stakeholders to chat with the data, because that's already where they consume data, so that's the best place in the end. Or the data warehouse, for instance, like Databricks Genie has been quite popular, I would say, and with good results. But it means sometimes that you have to use Databricks, and if you use BigQuery, you will not just migrate to Databricks to get it. But in the end, when we look at it, like the SQL generation through LLMs still have a meh feedback, if I do it like this way. And the conclusion is that the LLMs can't handle the complexity of the data model, because when you start becoming like a big company, you have hundreds of models, and you most of the time have, for instance, a column, like the revenue column that is defined in 10 models, I don't know, something like this. And for the LLMs, it starts becoming complex and hard to generate stuff with it. And also, this is a question that we've seen when we were talking to data teams. No one is really proud of his data model. Like when you ask the question, are you proud of your data model? No one will answer yes. What it means when you go deeper, it means that the data model is not clean. So it's up to you to understand what it means to have a clean data model. But it means that sometimes you have two tables with the same granularities, you have mixed match in granularities and so on. So the model will obviously take arbitrary choice on the stuff that it will answer to you. So how can data team can prepare the data model for an agent to be better? And when we look at the map at the moment, that there is, before all the stuff that we've just seen, two parts, which are like the ingestion and the transformation, and it boils down to garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put a lot of work into your data modeling, all these tools that are like downstream will not function correctly. So we believe with Claire that most of the stuff to unlock agentic AI for data teams and for the downstream consumers have to be done at the transformation level and also at the ingestion level. If you can like connect the two, it will be even better. So that's why we want to equip all data teams with stuff with AI to help them like being more productive and write better transformation. When we go deeper, at the moment we also thin out of the 80 teams that only 7 teams were using AI copilot tools to do data stuff. So either like GitHub Copilot or Cursor. And the biggest issue with this was that the agents only have half of the context. We say half of the context because when you take just Cursor or GitHub Copilot, at the moment they get the context of your code base, but they don't get the context of your data. And when I say of your data, it's like the metadata of the data, so the name of the tables, the types, the descriptions, but also what's inside the table. And the way we say it is like software engineering is 1D, but data is 2D because you have the code base, but also what really lives in your database. So how can we adapt AI agents to the data work so they also understand this second dimension? That's why we are building that now. And now is an AI code editor. It integrates directly with your warehouse. And we also want you to get directly instant testing within your IDE of your data. So you don't wait for the CI to run. You don't wait for the code to land in production to get the diff on your data. So everything stays in your IDE, and you catch everything, and you write the best code you can before committing. So we're going to play a little game with now, and I think Claire going to be your guide through this.
Yes. Put like this. Is it?
C'est bon.
Ah, ça Yes, so we wanted to play a little game with you to show you like how can you actually put that in practice. And yeah, what does a workflow look like if you are data people working with an agent? So we took a use case that you might have often is someone in the business team asking you for new data. So here it's like your COO that wants to access the customer support data, and you just have ingested it, but you have no idea what's inside of it. So this is like the mission that you have. The data is coming from Intercom, and you really don't know what the schema looks like. It's just like here in your BigQuery, and you want to build all the ingestion, the transformation from the staging layer to the gold layer, because obviously you have a very nice medallion architecture. And you need to expose all of this up to the gold layer to bring it up to Omni. And at the end, the KPI you want is the number of conversations per day per team. So now I'm going to switch to the tool, and we're going to try to do it together, and let's see if it works. So here we are in Nao's tool. You can see here the copilot is present on the right. So if you're familiar with Cursor, it's quite similar to what you would have in Cursor. Basically, a code editor that is enhanced with a copilot. And the difference that we have here is you have... how do I do that?
I zoom out.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the main difference we have is that we directly are connected to your data warehouse. This way we can know actually what's inside your data and build the right code for transforming this data. So here I can see I have my Intercom data that is ready in BigQuery, and I can launch a first preview. So I know that I have my data here, and I could just go and look what is the schema and try to understand what the joins are to be done between that, but I'm too lazy to do that actually, and I have much more things to do. So I'll just ask the agent here to first build some staging models from the raw table. So here I'm just going to call the agent and ask create the staging models for the so it's the Airbyte Intercom for the tables. So I'm just going to give like the schema where it is and call the warehouse and say write it directly in my code base. Okay, so let's see what the agent does now. Things first. Okay. So first it's good because it notices that I need to create a source.
But it says that it can't find the models directory.
It can. I can't find. Okay, well that's unexpected. And I'm blocked. Huh?
Give him the path.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will give the path. Okay. Okay, so first it's going to create the source file and then the SQL for the staging. Okay, well, maybe I will switch the model because this one looks a bit... Okay, let's try again. The demo effect is here. I'm just going to... Okay, let's try with Claude, and we promise it's not going to be publicity if this one is working. Okay, seems to be working better. Well, what can we say? It looks like Claude is ahead on this one. Okay, so it seems like it's already generating some documentation. Okay, error, but at the end, so we can live with that. So let's try. First, we're going to create our source file. I think. Is it a presentation bugging or?
I think. It was just.
No, it was just a big bug, I think. Okay, so here I can create. We a little bit too much. Let's try it in a clean way. Yes. Can I accept it?
Bugs, as you see.
Yes. We just released a new version this afternoon. Maybe we should not have. Okay, so let's try. We were not afraid, so let's try. Okay, so it created a staging model for the company's table, and we could preview it. So here you can see that the model could see the context of what's in the data warehouse, and then it took all the column names to create the staging model for this specific table. So here we have the first one, and let's try the second one for the conversations. Okay. Is this one working? Yeah. And then the last thing is that it also created a file to create the documentation on the data, and it can even add some tests. So here, for example, it saw that there was an ID column, so it added some tests of uniqueness and not being null. So we can also create the documentation by doing that. And you can also notice that the model has understood the way that my data model or my project was done, because here I already had a folder with staging data and the Salesforce data from my Arbeit. So it created exactly the same architecture here in the bronze folder. Yeah, I think that's it for the demo.
Okay.
I mean, we can do the silver part as well, but
No, but it's okay.
yeah, it's good. Okay, let's try it. Let's say let's now create. Yeah, I should have felt the silver model. Data merge with with team data.
There are a few things we have to improve in the UI, because when the code is like that big, no one's gonna read it. So we can like collapse it down. So you open it when you just need it, but this is like tweaks in the UI. The goal first is mainly to create this agent flow, and then on our side we're gonna write a lot of different functions. So we give powers to the agents to do stuff on your data and your data project. So you can, for instance, ask him to run queries or stuff like this for you. So you don't have the goal in the end for us is so you don't have to switch back to ChatGPT or whatever else you are already using actually, but give you the toolbox directly within the IDE, so you don't have to switch to something else.
Yeah, and so yeah, here on the silver table, it created a new query from the previous staging table that we created. And maybe I'm not going to do like the dbt run and build, but maybe to wrap up, I can switch tab. I think my computer is a bit stuck. Okay. Okay. And so, yeah, I think the use case we see for the data teams here, so first is build faster. So as you saw, you can just have like your raw data and directly have your data up to the gold layer quite fast, even without like reading the documentation of the intercom API. Like we haven't been through that, and we could still build some tables. Then obviously write documentation. We know it's a very big pain for our data team. And if you write documentation without having access to the data warehouse, obviously you lack a lot of context to do that. So we believe by adding that, the documentation will be more relevant. And also to create tests, because it's also something that is not done extensively today by data teams. So the copilot can help you generate the tests where it actually is relevant. Then second part that is quite big is like how to refactor your codes. First, how to know where to refactor your codes. So to detect if your data model has some inefficiencies, for example, tables that are actually not used anywhere and that you should kill, or if there are inconsistency, like KPIs defined in 2 different ways in your data model, or if your colleague is creating a new definition of the same KPI. And then we know that the difficult part about refactoring is to make a change that you will know will not break the rest of your data model. So the agent will be able to understand the lineage and to help you do the change throughout the lineage. And then the third part is really like shortening the feedback loop in the testing process. So when you change your code, you want to be sure that you're not like doing a 10x on the figures that you're showing your CEO. And you don't want to wait like for a painful CI/CD to run until you notice that. So what we want is that you can see directly in your code editor that you have broken or not something. For example, by looking at a difference in your data between dev and prod, and so that you can be able to do like data profiling and data testing really quickly with the agent. So that's pretty much it. And if you want to know a bit more, you can go into our website, and we can have new beta testers in the next week. So if you're willing to help us go through the bugs, we will love to.
Thank you.